Hello and welcome to the Advocates for Angels Summer Success Stories series. And today I have Liz, who is a mom of a student on an IEP, Theo. And Theo is pretty much a nonverbal kiddo, very limited verbal language. And we're going to be talking about Theo's success story, especially last year in the 2020-2021 school year, how much he progressed and why that happened, how that happened, how we got to that place of being successful with the local public school district. And that's going to be our topic of today. And I really want to just emphasize that moms of kiddos who have very limited speech or nonverbal kids on the spectrum really want to listen to this video, because we're going to be giving such amazing information on why Theo started progressing and why he took a big leap in his ability to learn and be successful in the classroom, behaviorally, socially, emotionally, academically, and every way, because of the way we switched the way he was being taught. So we're going to cover a lot of things today. And so we're going to get started, and we're going to say hello to Liz.
Hi, Valerie.
Hello.
Well, first I want to say, Valerie, how honored I am to be here and to speak today. I'm happy that I'm finally at the point of my IEP process that I could come and share my experience and my knowledge. A few years ago, I wasn't at that place, and I'm just so happy that I'm here and I'm able to do this.
Yes.
I want to share my experience and my knowledge with parents that are just starting this new reality or have been in it for a while, but it isn't working out. And I just hope that parents get a lot out of it.
Thank you, Liz. And thank you for coming today, for sharing your story, and for wanting to help other moms. And I do want to bring to light, Liz, that you are a teacher yourself. Mm-hmm. And so you have a very unique perspective, which is very helpful, I think, because you see both sides of the table as an educator as well as a parent. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I'm an educator of 25 years. I've taught K through 6th grade in the general education system. Private. I started private for many years, and then I went to public school. Like I said, I taught K through 6. I've pretty much taught it all, so I've seen it all. I just wanted to talk about Theo. Theo is autistic, nonverbal, with sensory disorder. So that is what I'm dealing with and working with right now.
Absolutely. So I think, let's start out talking about that. Over the past a year and a half, you and I have been diligently working together to what I call turn the IEP ship around to the point where we become a cohesive IEP team. And that means with the parent, that the parent takes an equal seat at the IEP table to collaborate, to give input to in the decision-making process of everything that has to do with your child, Liz. And before I started working with you, that was a big problem because it was very much so adversarial, us against them. They would make decisions without conferring with you or asking your input or opinion. It was a struggle. It was a challenge, constant, every little thing. And we now got to the point where we are a cohesive team. Everybody's working together. You are an equal participant at the IEP table, mm-hmm. and Theo is thriving and learning, and we got over the hump. It wasn't easy turning that ship. It was very, very difficult, but we together worked together and persisted through all the challenges, all the disagreements, all the, dissents to the IEP. But it is possible, parents, to get to that point where you are a cohesive team, which is the sweet spot. That's where everybody wants to be, where the team, the people that actually work every day in the trenches with your child, that they're cheering on with you and celebrating your child's wins, your child's progress, your child's ability to make progress toward their goals and start to blossom. That's where we all want to be. And that's a difficult place to get to. Do you want to comment on any of that, Liz?
Well, Valerie, I don't know how I've known you many years now, and you've always talked about that, and I just never thought that would come. That would never happen. I was like, okay, you talk about it, but I don't see how it could ever get there. I don't know how it could get there, and it just like an impossibility. But now I'm living it.
Yes.
And so, and that is what is amazing. I still can't even, you and I together going through the process, like, oh my God, the ship has turned, and you want to pinch yourself because you can't believe you got there. And I just want to tell parents, being an educator and knowing, going to IEPs, I've been going to IEPs for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I saw it from a different point of view. I saw it as a teacher perspective. So, but I always saw the parent, and I always saw that the parent was nervous and intimidated. And I felt bad for the parent. And I was like, oh my God, how horrible this process is for them, because you could see they were shaking. And I just said, oh my gosh, this is horrific for them.
Yes.
But they got through it, and they were happy when it ended. And then they signed it. Okay, please, any questions? No questions.
Yeah.
Okay, sign here, please. Sign. See you at the end of the year.
Yes.
It was done.
Yes.
Then I had a child with autism.
Yes.
And my role changed. My role went from teacher to parent. And it was a whole different world for me.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the IEP process as a teacher. Now I was in the IEP process as a parent. And it was not what I thought it was. I thought it was what I used to see.
Yeah.
No contention.
Yeah.
Listen,
Mm-hmm.
as a parent, sign the IEP and thank you, goodbye, see you in a year. Then I realized as a parent that is what you do. You sign the IEP at the end and thank you at the end of the year. But then I saw that Theo wasn't working.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Theo wasn't improving.
Mm-hmm.
Theo wasn't progressing.
Yes.
And then I understood that as an IEP member, first of all, I didn't know what that meant. It took me years to figure that one out.
Yes.
But then I realized and came to terms with, because I did start to become contentious.
Yes.
I started to become angry.
Yes.
I blamed them for not fixing my son, for not helping him.
Mm-hmm.
I dropped him off in the morning having faith that they were going to help my son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As years went on, I realized that they didn't know how to fix my son.
Mm-hmm.
That was my aha moment. It's not that they're not trying. My son wasn't showing them anything.
Mm-hmm.
And how could they fix him if he didn't show them anything? And he had behavior, and he had sensory issues, and they tried. They tried.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think they were trying.
Mm-hmm.
Then I realized that I had to take responsibility for my son
Mm-hmm.
and his learning and helping him. I had to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the first part of helping my son was to stop the anger, stop the contention, and just realize they really tried to do the best. And now I had to become an expert in help Theo.
Yes.
I started researching how does the autistic brain work? How do you work with a child that's nonverbal? How do you teach communication to a child that's nonverbal? How do you work with a child that has sensory disorder? I mean, every question that I had, I researched, but I also knew that Theo was never going to learn if we didn't handle the behavior.
Right.
So I got help. I went to an outside agency and I got help for behavior, sensory, and
communication devices. The biggest key. So let's unpack some of that, Liz, because that's a lot that I want parents to understand the details. And so you talked about that they you thought they were doing their best and they tried. Okay. Now let's unpack that. So that means that what they did what they do for every child. Yes. They do the standardized testing, which doesn't work for kids on an IEP, or kids who are nonverbal or have extreme limited verbalization skills. Standardized tests do not work. They do not reveal or reflect the ability or the IQ that a child has, because a child who's nonverbal can't take a standardized test. All right. So right there, your child's screwed right off the bat. Boom. Because they're going to come out in the -1 category in most things, unless they are able to communicate through typing. But that's much more advanced. Most kids haven't gotten there yet. Most kids, they haven't offered assistive technology to. So that right there is a strike against your child. Then what's going to happen after that? They're going to say your child belongs in a severely handicapped class because your child's a -1 in all the standardized test scores, Mom. So I'm so sorry, but your child, this is where they belong, an SH class, where they will not receive curriculum. They will not learn to read. They will not learn to write. They will not learn to do math. They will receive functional curriculum. And they will be with other nonverbal, non-speaking children who are on the spectrum, and they will receive a ABA, probably discrete trials program. And that's the one size fits all way to do things. So what you did was you said, I don't want that for my son. So I'm going to educate myself on what are my rights, what is available to my child. And that's when you said you decided to become the expert on your son's disability. What does he really need? What are his areas of deficit? And I know there's some way to help him other than the severely handicapped class. And that's what we did together. So that's when we said, nope, we're disagreeing with the severely handicapped class. We want you to teach Theo in the least restrictive environment. And we want all the supports and services, programs, strategies, modalities, and related services available for Theo in that least restrictive program placement, the least restrictive placement, which is just an STC, special day class, where they're still teaching curriculum. So we got that taken care of. But I like how you said, Liz, I took on the responsibility. I didn't expect them to do it all for my child, because that is the aha moment of every parent, to say, I'm not just going to go in anymore, have them talk at me. Here's what we're offering you. Now sign the IEP. But you took responsibility and said, I got to learn this isn't working. I got to take my responsibility. And that's what you did. And you invested the time. You invested the research, educating yourself on the speech and language, on the behaviors, on the sensory integration, and on how does a nonverbal child learn. What is the best strategies and teaching modalities for a nonverbal child? And that was our next battle after we got the placement worked out, our next battle was, okay, now we're going to ask for these specific teaching modalities for kiddo. And so let's talk about some of those teaching modalities for kids that are nonverbal or with very limited verbal skills. The first thing is that, of course, you should get an assistive technology assessment to determine whether your child would need an AAC device, which is a communication device. Most kids are so advanced in technology, they just pick it up just like that. And so devices are the best thing for not just kids on the spectrum, most kids. And so we got him his AAC, but it's not just getting the AAC device, it's having the IEP team across environments and settings throughout the school day, everybody implementing the AAC device, right, Liz? That was a big battle to make sure everybody was bought in to that AAC device and everybody was trained properly. Most people have no clue how to use an AAC device, because that's another area of people aren't trained. They're not knowledgeable. They don't have experience in that area. So you have to ask for training. And once that happened and Theo made the light switch went on and he went, I can communicate with this. Oh my gosh, I can talk with this device. That's like a big, huge, you made it to the mountaintop. And that's when everything opened, the doors open up for a child. And then we moved into other ways to how to increase his vocabulary so he could verbalize and communicate more, not verbalize, but so that he could communicate more on his device, which is whole word, sight word vocabulary. Teaching him, not teaching him phonetically how to read, which is what all teachers want to do, right? So when we tell the teachers, we don't want you to teach Theo phonetically, what we want you to teach him whole word reading, sight words, and you're not going to ask him to sound out words. You're not going to ask him to, Theo, say say apple. No, none of that. There's not any of that, because those kiddos cannot verbalize. They're nonverbal. So there's no phonetic learning. And you want to talk a little bit about that, Liz, because that was such a huge milestone.
Well, what I learned through my research, because, you're not told, nobody tells you how your child learns. Nobody tells you what your child needs. But through the research and through taking my son to therapy, and they specialized in autism, they taught me how my child learns. And that's where we saw the research-based strategies of where I wrote them down all here because I didn't want to forget, where they eliminated phonics. They taught whole word reading, vocabulary development, eliminate verbal demands and replace with AAC communication device, eliminate hand over hand, stop doing the work for him, because that is something that he was conditioned to do, and we had to recondition him, and it took many months to change that habit. Demands for paper and pencil. Autistic children, especially mine, he's not at the point of where he wants to even hold a pencil. So that's where the AC device came in. What is most important that I found is that you have to give them choices, and you have to give them meaningful tasks. If you just put something in front of them and expect them to learn, and you coerce them to learning, because you have to do this before you do that, or before you go on break, well, what you're going to get, and what we saw with Theo, tantrums, behaviors, eloping, and then you look at his end of the day daily communication log. Theo elope, behaviors, I'm like, but what caused that? Because my son doesn't just do that. And I found out through talking, communication, well, we gave him a task and he didn't want to do it. okay, when I found out that, give them meaningful tasks, give them tasks that they want to learn, give them tasks. Well, and then intrinsic motivation. It's not about just here, I'm going to give you this, and you better do it because after that better, but you need to do this, and then after you get to go and jump on the trampoline. Well, a child with sensory needs to jump on the trampoline. That's not a reward. A child that needs to jump on a trampoline needs to do it when he needs to do it, because then you have to self-regulate a child with autism before they can start to work. So those are all things that we worked with the OT. We worked with everybody to finally see what we were talking about, what we were learning through our research. But I feel like the ship finally turned, and I know you agree with this, the ship finally turned is when I was able, and thank God for COVID.
Yeah.
A good thing did come out of COVID, that everything I learned through all my research is that I got to show them how I work with Theo. And they got to see all those things in place. And because I was able to show them, they saw their perspective change. And they saw, oh my God, AAC device works, AC device works, choices works. He sat for the first time they observed me work with him, it was 40 minutes. No breaks, no tantrums, engaged, joint attention, focused, intrinsic motivation, was very motivated to learn. And that was when they saw, okay, wow, he does learn. That was it.
Yes.
He knows how to learn. Mm-hmm. And because that happened, everybody's attitude changed.
Yes. And that was because how that happened, Liz, as you said, because of COVID. But that's because we're doing all of this stuff, through Zoom, online, and that way instead of in person. So Liz was able to say, IEP team, I would like to call an informal meeting, and I would like you to see how I work with my son at home.
Yes.
And that's how it happened. And then Liz was able to show examples of how she worked with her son and use the intrinsic strategies, which means that he is naturally wanting to complete tasks. He wants to complete tasks because it makes him feel good. He wanted to do his academic, whatever it was that he was enjoying, that he was being offered to choose choices of. So it's a complete switch of, here's what you're going to do. Here's your schedule, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 today. And we're going to go down the schedule. And a child has no choice in that schedule. It's changing a lot of ways in which the teachers interact with the kiddos during the day, meeting their needs sensory wise, where if he needs sensory input, he gets to get up and jump on the trampoline if he needs to. And as Liz said, it's not a reward, it's a sensory need. And that his sensory needs were taken care of through an appropriate occupational therapist and services as well. The ABA, the behavioralists, the BCBAs, they were on board with working as a team and collaborating. It wasn't just all about behavior and doing it in a behavior approach. It was a multidisciplinary team of, okay, behavior is a piece, but also so is AAC device, so is sensory integration, so is his social emotional needs. That Theo was probably bored to death and angry on the inside with having them give him these stupid things way below his ability level, because they thought that's where he was, because that's where standardized tests said that he was, right? Where now he's doing things way above what they ever thought he could ever do. And they're beyond shocked and amazed beyond belief, because again, those standardized tests do not serve our kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And they were only going by what they saw in the classroom.
yeah.
He wasn't doing anything for them. So he figured he doesn't learn.
Yeah.
You know, but what's important also is that I shared with the team the importance of high expectations,
Yes.
treating him age appropriately, speak with him and treat him with dignity. Don't talk about him in his presence because he understands what you're saying.
Yeah.
Give him challenging work. Expect him to be successful by instilling intrinsic motivation to complete work. Offer choices, which is I've already talked about. Allow him to have student agency to make his choices and to gain confidence in his choices and in himself. Allow him to be independent. He has a one-on-one that's hovering.
Yes.
Stand back. Let him start to become independent. And you know what? It's happening. Sit him in front of the class. Include him in the classroom. Don't put him in the back of the class. He understands very well he's part of the classroom community.
That's right.
Give him role models. Include him in everything. And make him feel that he's part of the class and the student body. Those were huge for Theo. And you know what? Those things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yes,
Amazing.
now they're happening.
Yeah.
Now they're happening. And I think that piece about treating the kiddos with having high expectations for them and not treating them as less than, or they just don't know anything. They can't hear you when you're talking about them right in front of them. That they can hear, they're processing information. They just can't talk. They're nonverbal kids. Many of these nonverbal kids are highly intelligent, highly gifted in intelligence that we don't find out till way later on when they're older, and they can show us, oh, look, they're a savant in math, or oh, look, they're, they have a high, gifted in this or that. We don't know. And so don't prejudge. And just because they can't take a standardized test, don't prejudge the kids that because they can't verbalize that they're, ID, intellectually disabled, or they can't learn, and they're profoundly, disabled, which is a lot of the prejudgments that occur for a nonverbal student. And it's just not correct. That's not according to what research has shown over the past 10 years, is that many of these kids, once you give them a way to communicate, which is the keyboard and devices, assistive technology devices, they start thriving. And Theo is a perfect example of that. And this is we just cracked the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, we don't know where he's going to go from here. We're just now going to start seeing where Theo can go, because we've turned the ship. The light bulb, this aha about, this is my communication device, and this is how my connection, my bridge to language, to communicating and to learn. And then everything opened up with his learning, and he also has an academic device. You want to talk about that, Liz?
Yes. Well, in my research, I found that children with autism love technology. So I went and I didn't wait to ask for it, because it takes forever. We know it takes forever when you ask for something. And then, so I went and I just purchased an iPad, and I started buying all the educational apps that I thought he would be interested. And all of a sudden, I saw my son working. It was the best day of my life. There was no stimming. There was none of this. There was just my son working. And I said, oh my God, that's how Theo learns. And I called an IEP and I said, this is how Theo learns. And the thing is that you probably already knew that. But I thought I discovered something brand new. And they're, oh, okay, that's how Theo learns. Okay, yay. Okay, let's start. It took forever to finally get to the device, but I had it at home. I wasn't going to wait, you know?
Right.
I wasn't going to wait and finally we were working on it at home, and I saw a different child. And then that gave me the gas, to gave me the energy and the motivation to now fight harder. My child can learn. He doesn't learn the conventional way. He doesn't learn the way you're teaching him. And now I was on a mission. How does he learns with that, but what are other ways that he learns? And I found out that he learns with choices and with intrinsic motivation and giving him an autonomy, and then pulling all those things together is then when I decided, okay, now I need to show them what I'm talking about, because you can go to an IEP and you can say, but my son can do that. My son can do this, but my son, and they're looking at you like,
yeah, like sure, mom.
We know your son too, and
poor mom. She just won't accept that her child's severely disabled. Poor mom. Yeah.
And that's where your anger starts. Like, no, but he can. And they're like, okay, thank you so much for coming today. Now just come here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, they don't believe me. But I get that. I get that they didn't believe me
because they never saw it.
Them. Yeah, and I got that. I understood that. And I said, I have to show them.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is after I showed them, they saw him generalize.
Yes.
It just didn't happen with mom. It was happening everywhere. And then we go to IEP meetings and they were saying, oh my God, we see a different Theo. Oh my God, Theo is learning. Oh my God, behaviors are non-existent. Oh my God, and that is when the ship turned. Everybody was on board. They weren't excited. They weren't like, oh, brother. No, they were excited. Yes, now we can teach him. And they all got on board.
Yes.
And that's where now we became a team.
Right.
And to help Theo. And that's when everything changed.
It is.
But that's where you have to get to that point.
Right.
Because they don't believe they can. And I understood that. Theo was on the road to daily living skills.
Oh, yeah.
That is what I saw. And I had to do something to stop it.
Yes. And that's right. It would have been a battle forever.
Yes.
They would have never stopped. SH class, SH every year. And, you're at risk of having the district then, you can stay put. But, the district can easily say, well, we're filing on you because we're putting your son in an SH class, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And then if you can't prove that's the right placement, then, pretty much that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, now it would not be appropriate in any way, shape or form to put Theo in an SH class because now they know how much he can learn and that he is progressing on his goals, and that wouldn't be an appropriate placement for him any longer. Yeah. But, I think it is important to, just to encourage parents and let them know, of course it's natural to get angry. Liz was angry, and I'm a mom too. Yeah, I know. I get angry. And as an advocate, I get angry too. About my clients, I get angry. Yeah. And so,
Valerie, you're so passionate, and my son became your son, and you're fighting just as hard for him.
Oh yeah, I get
the beauty of you,
Yeah, thank you, Liz. Yeah, I get very, very invested in making sure my clients get what they need and they receive the IEP that they deserve. Yeah. And so it's, a wonderful thing. That's why this summer I said, I'm focusing on success stories not just the negative, not just how far we have to go, not just all the problems, but let's talk about success stories, because I always say, it's possible, you guys. It can happen. Special education can work, but it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of investment. Parents taking on that and ownership of responsibility of their part, and then working with an advocate to learn your rights to take an equal seat at that IEP table, like Liz was talking about, and then turning the ship around. And then you can it's possible to get to that place. It's a long road. It's a long, hard road. Liz can tell you. You've been doing it for 2.5 years, 3 years, right?
I would say 3 years. Yeah. And that's when I said, okay, I have to do something. Yes. I have to do something. I needed to show the team that I was going to work hard, if not harder than them. And they had to know that I was invested and I wasn't going away. I was going to show them what Theo could do and that he could learn. And that is what made the biggest difference. And that is what parents have to realize. You have to take action. You have to become a member of the IEP team. Yes. They have to know that you're invested. And you have to advocate for your son. You have to advocate. You have to learn how to advocate, because that is so, I didn't know how to advocate for my son. I'm learning now, but that's everything. They throw so many acronyms around, and you're like, what are they talking about? And IDEA, FAPE, PWN, all these, and they don't tell you what they mean. You're sitting there going, oh my God, what are they talking about? But when you gain the knowledge, then they understand you've gained, you're knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And they know that you know. And it's like you always say, they can read you the first time they meet you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, does this person know something or do they not? Oh, they don't look like they know anything. Okay, but this is what we're going to do. As you become more knowledgeable, you even have more confidence in yourself when you're sitting there. It's not an intimidating process. Then once you start to get everybody to see what you see in your son, you do see that they are going to support you, and they're going to make changes, and they're going to help your son. And that is something that I never thought I would see. But it's there, and it's possible. And I just want parents to know that it is possible, and not to give up. You have to take action. You can't sit on the sidelines. Yeah. You can't be angry that if you don't think they're helping your son, because they probably don't think they're helping someone because they're not doing it. But you have to, if you believe in your child, then fight for your child.
Right. And I think that a lot of parents think that because they don't serve our children, that we can get lied to, we can give in misinformation, misguided, the IEPs that don't serve our kids, misplacement, the whole gamut can happen. And I always talk about, it's the system that's broken. It's many of those people that are at the school sites, they went into it because they love kids and they want to help kids, but they're caught in a bad system. The system is what's corrupt. And now I'm not going to say, there are certain people that they take on that corruption too, and they get tainted. But the majority of staff want to help kids. And when you can break through that glass ceiling, like Liz is talking about, where we're turning the ship and bring us together as a unified team. I mean, you have to see these people every day and work with these people and go to IEP meetings. So you got to build a respectful, collaborative, professional relationship with them and bring the team together. And I think that was a big turning point for you too, Liz, when when people do work against, we're working against us not being nice, playing dirty. And this is what we have to deal with. In turning the ship, there's a lot of crappy stuff you got to deal with, and you got to overcome, and you have to keep going, and you can't give up. But I think when you just said, you kind of let go of the anger, you put it in the past, you let it go, and you said, I'm just going to be professional and nice. I'm not going to show I'm letting that past go. And that was a huge turning point for you, I think.
Yeah, there were some members on the team that, that we just butt heads,
Yes.
and there were grudges and contention with each other. And I realized, you know what, I'm probably going to be this person for many years, and I need to stop, and I'm not just saying it was me, it was them too, but I realized, you know what, I'm now going to help you help my son. And once they saw me helping them help my son, instead of judging them and saying, you're not doing that right, or, you're just complaining. I said, what can I do to help you? What can we do? Especially at home when we were doing the Zooming, what materials do you need? What can I do? What about this? And collaborating with, whoever. They saw, okay, she wants to help. She's helping me help him. Everything that changed. All of a sudden, we just collaborated and called each other. And what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And let's try this. Oh yeah, that'll work. And that is what happened with the whole team. The whole team.
Yeah.
And the communication. Well, call me if that doesn't work, because then we can bring something else. Okay. Well, you know what? The goals are coming up. Let's meet Friday and let's discuss what the goals should look like. Okay, yeah, let's discuss goals.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this goal. What do you think about that goal? Yeah, that's a great goal. All that was happening, and it's just shocking.
Yes. And this is from some of the members of the team wouldn't even talk to Liz or communicate with her outside of an IEP meeting. There was no informal meeting, talking on the phone or on a Zoom call or any communication whatsoever, unless there was an IEP meeting. So that's how contentious it was for a while. And now
a principal had to be involved, the case manager had to be involved. They would never just sit with me and talk to me.
Yep.
Oh, it was a long road to get where we are now, where now they talk to me, because I'm going to tell you, you don't know a lot about our case, but it was incredibly contentious.
Yes.
And nobody would talk to me on their own because they thought I was going to do something, about something bad to them. I don't know, but because I was so angry and I was so, I blamed them for my son not improving, and so but as contentious as you are as it may be in your IEP, it might not be successful for you right now. Nobody may be listening to you. You may be fighting. I was there. I lived that, probably worse. And I could go on with a million stories. And some of you know me and know my story, but I was there and I lived it. But I'm now here to tell you that it's not that anymore. And we broke through.
Yeah.
And I know what to do to keep it going. And I pray that it continues this way, because you never know. But I just know I'm happy. I see my son learning. I see him progressing. And we are in a good place. And I want my son to, I was going to me, giving up means I'm taking my son out of public school. I'm putting him in a private. I'm going to put him somewhere else, because we're not going to. That's not the answer. I thought that would be the answer for my son. And I thought, what? I want my son to go to his school, community school. I want my son that when we go to the supermarket, he sees his friends. I want my son that when we go to the park, they say, Theo. That socializing and role model is the most important thing, one of the most important things for my son. And I didn't want to take that away from him. I want him to go to the school my kids go to.
Neighborhood school.
Neighborhood school. And today I took him to summer school. And as I'm walking him out, and this is his first time at the neighborhood school because he was at another school for SBC. And Theo, and then Theo, I could see the big smile in his face, and that was worth everything. Everything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And my daughter, because he has a twin, she's going to be in the class together. So it's just beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. So beautiful. Yeah. So really we hit all the points. Theo's he's got the OT he needs. He's got the speech he needs. He has assistive technology he needs. He has a non-public agency behavior, BCBA, supervision, and one-on-one behavior aid. He has a really good teacher next year, amazing teacher who's already knows exactly where she's going to place Theo in the front of the class, on the right side, right next to her, room for a little table next to him on the corner with all of his materials, his assistive technology, room for his aide to sit, and the right environment, the right placement, and neighborhood, proper school that he's in, and learning and growing and happy, and a collaborative, unified IEP team. And so it is possible. It is possible to get there. And Liz was one of those. We were at the most contentious as you can get, where we're having those IEP meetings that are just horrific. And we're ready to, getting ready to file for hearing. We're, filing complaints. We're doing the advocacy that we have to do in these situations. But it is possible to get through to the other side without filing for litigation. And this is a perfect example of that possibility in turning the ship and being able to remain, to sustain those professional collaborative relationships with your IEP team, not go to war with your school districts by filing a hearing, going to due process. Sometimes that's what you got to do. Sometimes, but sometimes it can end up like Liz, and which is a much better way to go, because it takes years to rebuild relationships that bridges have been burned by going to due process. And then, and it's hard. I mean, of course, anything's possible. You can always rebuild afterwards, but that takes a lot of stress, and it's a war zone. It's a war zone, and it's just a much different experience. And thank goodness we didn't have to go do that, Liz. and he's getting his needs met through the public school, so we haven't had to go to a non-public school to get his needs met.
Yeah, every need that he has, they're meeting it, and praise God.
Yes, absolutely, huge success story. So thank you so much, Liz, for coming on today and encouraging parents, and because it is a huge success story, and that this is what I wish that every one of my clients could experience, because this is like you hit the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. We made it, we did it, and it's happening. And parent rights, advocating, IEP team collaboration, everything's working together now properly the way it should, and what's possible. When all things fall into place, when parents don't give up, when parents take on the responsibility of their role and own what their place is at the IEP table and learn their rights, step up, don't give up, speak out, and never back down. You never back down. You never gave any indication that you were going to give up or back down, and they knew you weren't. And we made it through.
Yeah, there was something that we talked about. It was where you always said to me, every time you refuse to take no for you can refuse, and don't ever take no for an answer when they say no to something, because they always say no, but then you keep asking, and then you finally will hear a yes. Every time you write a parent agenda or a partial agreement, or you don't sign your IEP, those are powerful tools. Those are tools that you have to use. Those are tools that we use to get where, and there's other tools that we use. It just didn't happen by me just being nice and working collaboratively. We had to use the tools.
Oh, yeah.
The tools that it wouldn't have happened. And I mean, there were lots of things, and I think it's important to say, but the tools were crucial.
Oh, yeah. You would never win without me coaching you, teaching you. Here's the next advocacy step, Liz. You're not signing your IEP. We're writing a partial agreement.
Yeah.
Here's the next advocacy step. We're writing a 3-page parent agenda on what we expect this IEP to happen at this IEP. This is our agenda. This is what we want at this next meeting. And writing a parent letter. I helped you write several parent letters of what your dissents were, how you felt. All of that becomes record, a cum file, evidence, paper trail. So all the steps, I have my 7 steps in my ultimate IEP parent empowerment program that I teach. There's 7 advocacy steps to success to get your kid what they need. And these are legal parent rights steps, which are legal steps. They're your parent rights under IDEA. And if you don't take advantage of those parent rights, you're never going to win. You can do all the stuff we said today, but they're not going to do it if you don't know your parent rights, if you don't know who you are as a mom, as a parent of a child in an IEP, what IDEA gives you and endows you with the power. When I say power, I say legal power. And the legal power you have in an IEP meeting is huge.
Yeah.
The parents don't have any clue how to implement that power. What does that mean? Which is what I teach in all my training programs. I teach you how to do all those things. I give you the scripts and the tools and the outlines how to do all of those things. And Liz knows how to do all those things now, right, Liz?
I don't think I need you anymore, Valerie. I didn't know you. She's taught me so much, but I will always need Valerie. But it's amazing what I've learned. But Valerie always talks about being a member of the IEP team collaboration. Don't be angry. Use the 7 steps. Those all have to happen. All have to happen in order to be successful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All pieces coming together, all the pieces being in place. Yeah, they all got to be there. Yeah. And but it is possible. It can be done. And Liz and Theo are a shining example of that possibility. And so thank you, Liz. And we just cheer on Theo and can't wait to hear. We'll have to come back and do another one like in a year and tell everybody where Theo is now and how much he's progressed and what he's doing, because I just know he's going to continue to blossom. He's going to continue to amaze us with what's really in that little brain of his.
I just want to say, I couldn't have done it without you. I thank you. Thank you for being patient with me. because sometimes I questioned you, like, no, but I always knew, you know what? Valerie knows I've got to listen and I've got to do what she tells me. And I followed, and now we're on the road to success. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Liz. That's why I love my job.
You're
This is the perfect example of what I could never have a more amazing job than I do. So, okay, Liz, well, give Theo a big hug and kiss from me. And thank you again.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.